Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Vice President. That's the guy you can see on screen right now. And as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first half of the video, and in the second half of the video we're going to take a look at perks, mutations, equipment, and so on. So let's get right into it. What this character is going to be about is we are going to utilize the Gauss rifle. I'm pretty sure every one of you knows. But I wanted to use it in a way that I personally have never seen or used it myself, which is outside of that. So, what the Gauss rifle is probably, or by the way, I think all of the Gauss weapons are should be pronounced as Gauss, but for me just feels super odd to say it like that because I'm German and that's the way I would basically pronounce it. And yeah, it's always odd when I'm speaking English and trying to pronounce something like I would in German. So for the rest of the video, I'm probably going to stick with Gauss. Anyways, yeah, the Gauss rifle is the day one weapon. It was always in the game, and I personally really like it because, especially nowadays with all the new damage models and so on, it's pretty much your best option when it comes to a stealth sniper if you really want to one-shot everything. With a relatively solid stealth sniper setup and a gauss rifle, you can pretty easily one-shot even level 100 super mutants, which is something that yeah, no matter how much you invest into it, with a hunting rifle, for example, will probably be impossible. Lately, fooled around a little bit with an instigating version, and even that did not work out too well. So yeah, the Gauss rifle definitely has its place, in my opinion, in the game. But yeah, its main benefit is it is able to be suppressed, so it's a very suitable stealth weapon, and that's how you typically see it being used. Um, on this occasion, though, I wanted to use it outside of stealth. And the main factor keeping it back from being very useful or often used outside of that is the sheer fact that it's a relatively slow weapon. So, as every single one of the Gauss weapons, except for the Gauss minigun, you do actually have to charge this weapon. So that means you have to stay on the trigger until, let's get into first person so you can see it. These double O's up there, they charge up, and once they reach 99, that's when you are ready to do a full shot. Everything under it does less damage, especially if you're firing the weapon without a charge, like you can do here. Maybe we can show the difference. Yeah, you saw. The first shot, uncharged, did like 20 damage to the car, and the second one did 140. So we can recreate that here, I guess. I mean, the 20 comes from the explosion. Anyways, I think you get the point. Yeah, so definitely you want to charge this weapon up. Now, there's two big things here. The first one, for a lot of enemies, you don't have to charge it all the way up. Like, on this occasion here, just slightly pulling the trigger, so maybe I would say if the charge is like at 20 or so, that will be enough. The difference between 0 charge and 1 is already kind of big, but yeah, you don't have to always charge it up fully, and what I wanted to do here in order to tackle the main problem here, which is being a slow weapon, is I was using, or I am using, a quad version of the weapon. And that makes it very good in my opinion. Now, the Gauss rifle is one of those where the quad effect is just working out super well, simply because it is a very powerful weapon to begin with. You don't actually need any legendary effects boosting your damage in order to be viable with the weapon. As you can see there, we're doing a ton of damage. Now, we are using a prime version of the weapon, but it's pretty easy, in my opinion, to keep this weapon as a primed version, just because it's very ammo efficient, and yeah, 20mm electric cartridges are quite easy to mass produce in when you're using ultrasight ammo. So yeah, I think this is one of the weapons where definitely it comes in handy to prime it. In addition to that, priming it actually has a big difference when it comes to damage, which is also not a given. Especially with ballistic weapons, there's a ton of them who basically get no real damage boost compared to their powerful receivers when you're using primed receivers. So I mean, obviously you would see a benefit when it comes to Scorch Beast and so on, but that's pretty much it. And yeah, on this occasion you can actually also use this weapon in free aim very efficiently, if you are a good shot, that is. But I was focusing on vats. I mean, the weapon I do have has better vats crits and less vats cost, but I gotta say that this build I'm using for the first time. I actually started this by sheer coincidence. I got a quad faster fire rate Gauss rifle, and faster fire rate doesn't do anything on Gauss weapons because I mean you could fire it faster, but since you want to charge your weapon before firing it, that doesn't really matter. Now let's just see. There's an assault from Dominator. I want to get his legs out, but we have to tank it. We didn't. Should have used the stim pack here. Anyways, lately I'm often dying to this fucking assaultron there. Should have just taken the bad shots to his legs. Anyways, back to the topic. Yeah, I was just using a quad faster fire rate version of the weapon. So as I said, faster fire rate doesn't affect the weapon. So it was just a quad version, and I was interested in how well it would perform. It did extremely well, despite just firstly not being primed, and in addition to that, just being a quad basically, so effectively it was a 1-star weapon. And yeah, then I thought about what kind of build I could go for in terms of visuals. I wanted to use this Grafton tracksuit just because I like the really dark red under armor. And yeah, came up with the visuals, but didn't really have a legendary set, so I just created a 1-star legendary set with mix matching effects and so on. And anyways, that's how I played the character for the longest while. And yeah, just now I was joining in on a custom server in order to do some slight little improvements I thought would be good for the build. Trying to get a better version of the weapon, other than reviewing basically a 1-star. And while I was doing that, I was also creating a set of Vanguard's armor. 2 pieces have AP refresh. So basically I was keeping track of what exactly my problems with the weapon were. With the build were. The points I thought could use some improvement. And then, yeah, just went for it. So this is how I imagined the build if you had the time to really grind for the necessary ingredients and so on. Meaning necessary equipment and everything. But yeah, I'm surprised. It works out really well. It was already doing quite well beforehand, but yeah, it's a great build. I'm having a ton of fun. It's basically one of my most favorite riflemen I ever played with. It really you feel super powerful. There's not a lot that can stop you. Now, the only thing that over time may be a little bit of a problem, your index finger. I mean, obviously shouldn't be too much of a problem when you're playing on PC, but if you're on console, whatever finger you use in order to pull the trigger is going to hurt a little after a while, just because, yeah, you're always charging. It's something that always happens to me when I'm using charging weapons, but nonetheless, works out pretty well. And yeah, I gotta say, the main worry I had with this build, which is that the weapon would just be too slow in order to keep up with hordes of ghouls and so on. That just turned out not to be too much of a problem, just because, yeah, you can one-shot pretty much everything, except for maybe high-level super mutants, unless you're hitting them in the head with a crit. But yeah, especially ghouls and so on, you can really effectively one-shot them. So you just need that one strike in order to take them down, and the quad effect comes in really handy here. Now, usually the problem would just kind of stack up so that enemies kind of swarm you, just because, yeah, you're needing a little bit of time to kill them. so they can come close to you, and after 5 shots or 6, depending on the receiver or capacitor it's called you have, usually after 5 or 6 shots, that's when you have to reload. The reload isn't super slow, but it's not particularly fast either. So that's how enemies start piling up on you. And yeah, with a quad version, that's just not the case. I mean, rarely do you go up against hordes of enemies that have more than 20 or 15 enemies. So you can very effectively take out a full group of enemies with a single magazine usually. And even if not, you may have to reload once, but that won't hurt you too much. So yeah, quad definitely is the way to go in my opinion when it comes to this weapon outside of stealth. In stealth, you usually have the time to reload, enemies can't swarm you so easily, and therefore I would maybe go for instigating just to double down on the high damage of the weapon to really one-shot everything. But yeah, other than that, I gotta say, a really good weapon. Now, I would have preferred better vats hit chance rather than better vats crits as a secondary legendary effect here. Just because, yeah, missing a shot is kind of unsatisfying. It's not the end of the world here, but since you have to charge it up, you kind of notice missing shots way more than maybe on a commando character or so. And ultimately, while obviously better vats crits give you a ton of damage if you land a crit, it's not the most necessary thing here. Yet again, damage output isn't the worry here on this character. It does have a lot of damage output. So what you really want to do is boost your effectiveness otherwise. Just being more precise, being more efficient with your weapon. And less vet cost, obviously, very good on this weapon. But I gotta say, that was another thing I was a little worried about when I initially started using the build or coming up with it. That I would run out of AP a lot, which yeah turned out not to be a big problem either. By the way, nice little one shot here. Has to do with the gun food chain. Usually we wouldn't have been able to one hit this guy, but yeah, having killed already two enemies beforehand means that we got a 30% or 20% damage buff on the Deathclaw, and combined it with the crit, yeah, it was just going down in a single shot. Pretty sure a crit could have done that without the gun food chain, even, but yeah, pretty sure not 100% sure. So as you can see there, everything goes pretty well. In terms of tankiness, obviously being having a full Vanguard set now helps me a lot, but it wasn't too big of a problem beforehand either, simply because you're trying to stay on the move a lot, and you have quite good range, meaning that especially here in open fields and so on, you can usually take down enemies before they can really start to damage you too much. And another thing is we do have, how's it called, the healing factor mutation here. So all that's really necessary is surviving an encounter. If you survive an encounter, you're basically back to full health in no time without having to bother with healing up with Stimpaks. Which wouldn't be a good idea because we only have rank 1 of Class Freak here, so our Stimpaks are not really efficient. I may be showing that off in a second here. But yeah, yeah, that should have been a normal Stimpak, so yeah, it should have healed more. But one thing we can do is we do have Cola Nut on this character. So really, if you want to have something as a backup in order to heal during a tough fight situation, what you want to do is maybe chuck a Nuka-Cola Quantum or a Nuka-Cola Cherry. Those can easily be farmed with the Nukatron scavenger at your camp, so shouldn't be a problem, and you don't need them all that often. Like as I said, taking down enemies is all it takes. No matter how much HP you have, once you're done, as you can see there, you're back in no time. And yeah, I highly advise you to give it a try. If you've never tried a non-stealth rifleman character, look through your stash, see if you have a good gauss rifle, and just give it a go. try it out for yourself, obviously, come up with something, but it really is a ton of fun. I didn't expect it to work out that well, and yeah, the only thing left to talk a little bit about, I haven't really mentioned it, is kind of backstory of this character, because the vice president, I mean, it's obviously not the real vice president. I want to go for vice governor or anything. I'm not really keen on American politics, so I can't really say anything for certain. But my idea here is that this is an Enclave character using very high-tech equipment from the Enclave, and basically I imagine that the Enclave has its own kind of president and vice president, just because they think they are the remnants of America, and they are the legitimate government of America as it stands. So they would have their own kind of vice president and so on. And this guy here is just basically a former military guy, very badass, kind of guy. The Grafton tracksuit, by the way, is just it's not really fitting. I just wanted to have it for the visuals, and you don't really see that it's sorry, that it is a high school tracksuit. Then, in addition to that, we do have actually the communist skin on our limbs. But what I found interesting, I never really noticed that before on the scout armor. Only the chest piece does basically have anything to do with communism other than being red colored. On the chest piece, there are some Chinese, I think, signs, but the rest is just a red skin, which is really cool. And in order to avoid using the Chinese symbols on my chest piece, I just went with a covered ops armor piece. Like, sorry, gotta check it real quick. Here it is. Covered scout armor chest piece. Just because it's this nice little black here, worked out really well, and overall the visuals of this character I think are great. Basically, why I wanted to have something like a vice president or so was because of the skin of the Gauss rifle from last season. We got the presidential skin, which is really cool. I always wanted to use that, but didn't really have any interesting Gauss rifle build in mind up to this point here. And yeah, that was a lot of a lot of talk about the background of the character. Usually I don't do that. Sorry if it did bother you, but now we're going to take a look at the details of the build. Starting off with the mutations. So you can see at the moment double XP is going on, but that's not of interest here. We do have the shadow armor effect from the chest piece, but we're not using that. It helps us get a little bit better when it comes to stealth in shadowed yeah, dark areas. I think it works everywhere though, kind of interestingly. Anyways, we don't use that. We don't sneak, obviously. When it comes to our mutations, we do have Bird Bones, Chameleon, Eagle Eyes, Healing Factor, Herbivore, Marsupial, Speed Demon, and Unstable Isotope. Right out of the bat, Chameleon and Unstable Isotope, those are not really necessary here. They're just leftovers from another build, but they don't have any considerable downsides to our characters, so therefore I left them in. What you do want to have is Bird Bones and Eagle Eyes, very straightforward combination for VATS characters, extra agility and perception for better VATS hit chance and better and more action points to use in VATS. And in addition to that, better VATS crit damage, very nice, obviously, just a damage boost. Then we do have Marsupial and Speed Demon, yet another combination for movement that this combination I pretty much always have. Once you're having Marsupial, you never want to play without it again for the extra jump height. The carry weight is certainly nice, but it really is the jump height that's selling us the weapon, the mutation here. And when it comes to Speed Demon, faster reload speed, obviously nice when you're having a weapon that has to be reloaded, but the movement speed alone is worth it in order to use the mutation just to move around quicker. And then we are left with Herbivore and Healing Factor. These are like the optional mutations, I would say. Healing Factor, I quickly explained it during the gameplay part here, just a few minutes back. Your chems are way less effective, so you don't really rely on Stimpaks or so to keep you alive. But on the other side is, yeah, you just have to survive an encounter, and your health will regenerate rather quickly up to 100% again. So if you feel comfortable playing that you survive most encounters without the need of stim packs, healing factor is very nice, because otherwise, yeah, even if you're tanky, you are going to need stim packs every now and then, because when you fight a few enemies, they take like 20% of your health. You fight another one, they take another 20% health. Yeah, you want a stim pack and heal up again. With healing factor, that's not a problem. You just survive the encounter and you're back up. And lastly, herbivore. I usually don't use any buffs in my videos, otherwise I'm pointing them out. Sometimes I use them, but for very specific characters. On this occasion I did not use any of these buffs, but when it comes to vats gameplay, herbivore is a very beneficial mutation, because you can actually have a lot of buffs that improve your AP refresh or your vats crit damage. And yeah, that's basically, yeah, if you're playing a rifleman or going for the vats route, herbivore usually is the better mutation. And when it comes to melee or brute force, you want to have strength buffs and so on, then carnivore is probably better. But yeah, these are completely optional, and I think you can definitely live without them. Leaving us with the equipment. So firstly, let's take a look at this here weapon. We do have a primed quad presidential recoil compensated gauss rifle. What a mouthful, right? Quad, obviously, we do have 20 shots per magazine, which is very nice. Better vats crits, obviously good. I already said it. I would have preferred to have 50 vats hit chance here, but yeah, I mean, I'm on a custom world. I could have just tried, but since this weapon here also had less vats cost, I thought it was rather fitting. Ultimately, yeah, maybe it would have been a better decision to go for vats hit chance, but anyways. That's the weapon. Talked a lot about it during the video. We do have a line shielded barrel and a line stock, just to be more, as well as a gauss rifle reflex sight. These all help us being more precise in VATS. And then we do have the prime capacitors for quite a hefty damage boost. Just to give you an idea, before using the prime capacitors, I was using the perforating ones for superior armor penetration. Those were giving, with those I was doing like 278 or 72 damage, something like that. So the prime capacitors actually give us quite a healthy boost here. And yeah, I went for no muzzle. Usually you see it with a suppressor, which is really huge and bulky. It looks kind of ridiculous, to be honest. I was tempted to go with a compensator, which looks exactly like the suppressor, but just a tad bit shorter, maybe half the length of the suppressor. Also looks kind of ridiculous, to be honest. It would have maybe been a bit better. I think our accuracy would have gone up to 67 instead of 62, at the cost of a little bit of range, I think. But ultimately the difference wasn't there. At the beginning I played with the compensator. Just, yeah, there's not too big of a difference to justify how ugly it looks, to be honest. And yeah, that's why I went without any muzzle at all. And yeah, then we're going to take a look at our armor. Full set of Vanguard. What armor it is, I already told you. Covered Scout chest piece. The rest is Urban Scout armor. We do have Vanguards with luck. Here it is with endurance. Then we have one with perception, and the rest should be with AP refresh. So overall, very nice. Would love to have that armor set in game. The tracksuit, by the way, just to give you an idea here, it does have the treated lining, so that's just the first rank, giving us extra charisma and intelligence. Yeah, it's not the best under armor in terms of stats. Even if you're having it shielded, it gives you a little bit of extra intelligence, charisma, and I think endurance might or luck, might be wrong there, but yeah, it's not too crazy, but you don't need anything else here. And that leaves us with perks. Strength is our dump set. We only have rank 1. Traveling pharmacy here. I do have the chemist backpack modification, so traveling pharmacy is overkill here, doesn't do anything. It just is in here if you don't have access to these backpack modifications and you want to at least carry a few stimpaks or something around. even though they're not too effective. Yeah, you can do that. Honestly, go for whatever you like here. It's our Darmstadt. Then we do have Perception at 15, unsurprisingly. We do have Tank Killer, Concentrated Fire, Expert Rifleman, Master Rifleman, and Rifleman. So this is a very old school setup, I would say. Usually what you nowadays see is rank 1 of Concentrated Fire, rank 2 of Ground Pounder, and the rest should be the same. Tank Killer is pretty obvious. It's just a good damage boost. It's one of the best perks you can get for Rifleman or Commando character. Maxing out the damage perks here, oftentimes I'm just not doing that, using rank 2 of each of them, and throw in rank 3 of Ground Pounder for faster reload and hipfire accuracy. But yeah, on this occasion I went with this combination here. Concentrated Fire on a semi-automatic weapon still works very well. On commando weapons, yeah, it just doesn't give you the highest benefit to rank it up to rank 3. But the reason I did it here on semi-automatic is it works still very fine. So at least on the third shot or something, sooner or later you really hit your target and the head or the other weak spot. And Ground Pounder just didn't feel too necessary. Played with it for a while, but yeah, it just wasn't giving me too much of a benefit because, as I said, we do have a very high ammo capacity. I mean, 20 doesn't seem very high, but compared to the damage we do, that's basically 20 kills in most situations, or at least 15 kills or so. And yeah, most encounters I can finish without reloading during a fight, and yeah, you always have time for a tactical reload here and there. So Ground Pounder didn't feel necessary. When it comes to hip fire accuracy, well, I basically never fired a thing in hip accuracy from the hip. Sorry, I'm either using vats if we are closer ranges or so, and if we are really at high ranges, I will definitely aim down sights. And despite not being modified for that use, the gaussrifle is super precise. You can definitely use it like that, even with all the line stuff and so on. So yeah, Ground Pounder just wasn't necessary here in my opinion. Endurance, relatively high for a rifleman character because, yeah, most certainly because usually you use vats or keep higher ranges, so you use stealth or keep higher ranges. So tankiness isn't really a concern, and other than that, you just don't have the perk points. You already have to invest a lot into agility, luck, and perception in most cases. So yeah, endurance often ends up being a dump stat, but on this occasion I could, due to the fact I'm using quite a lot of legendary perks and so on, I could boost it up to 8, which is a very comfortable number. Fireproof is there, Adamantium Skeleton is there. Those are very beneficial in my opinion. Fireproof I don't have to tell you, it's just very good. If you have a dense chest piece, you could live without it, obviously. Then the Adamantium Skeleton, quite simple. If our arms get crippled or our legs, we either move slower or lose precision, I think, if the arm is crippled. When our head is crippled, you have to use Stimpaks. And yeah, after a fight, we basically use the healing factor mutation in order to not bother with using a Stimpak after a fight. If one of our limbs would be crippled, that would be kind of lame because yeah, we then heal our health without using a Stimpak, but need a Stimpak anyways in order to heal our crippled limbs. So yeah, that just further improves that. And Colonat is here. While I haven't shown it off in the video, what I would suggest you to do is just having 5 or 6 quantums on you or Nuka-Cola cherries, even a normal Nuka-Cola. Have them on your quick menu and use them in emergencies. If you are in a tougher fight, maybe do a Stimpak just because it's quick and always on the same button press. But follow it up with a Nuka-Cola. That's a very effective healing item once you have Cola Nut especially. So yeah, that's your emergency healing basically. Then we do have Lone Wanderer. I haven't seen it in quite a while. Just doubles down on our AP refresh and maybe gives us extra tankiness, maybe doesn't. I honestly never bothered to test it. But yeah, Lone Wanderer here, nothing too crazy. Usually I would love to use Tenderizer, but I just have to keep myself back from using perks like Adrenaline and Tenderizer on every single build. So yeah, for once I went with Lone Wanderer here, but do as you please. Then we do have Intelligence, Gunsmith, Demo Expert, and batteries included. Now, Gunsmith and Demo Expert together is quite a lot of investment into Intelligence, but as every Gauss weapon, the Gauss rifle does have an inbuilt explosive effect nowadays. And yeah, we can quickly check that. So with Demo Expert, we do 347 damage, and if we unequip it, we are down to 322. So it's not the world, it's 25 damage. So yeah, you could definitely live without it if you don't have the perk points. But I still want to have it just because, yeah, it's still a bit of damage, but arguably not worth it. You could, however, argue that, yeah, you are more effective using grenades every now and then, so use it or not. It's not the most efficient use of perk points, but I still liked it. Gunsmith, yet another one, I would say not desperately necessary, but the condition on this weapon is pretty tough. Like, you're running through condition pretty fast, despite not doing a lot of shots. So, yeah, the weapon has a tendency to really break fast, so I definitely preferred using it with Gunsmith, so it lasts longer. Quite simple. It's personal preference. If you swim in repair kits maybe or so, obviously don't bother with it, but I personally find it kind of cumbersome to repair my weapon every half an hour. And then we do have batteries included. Quite simple. We do carry quite heavy energy ammo, so I do have like 700 shots or so left. I started out this video with 900, and those weighed 47 pounds or so without batteries included. So yeah, you definitely want to have batteries included here, despite not having to carry like thousands and thousands of ammo. Like 1,000 shots lasts you for quite a while, but yeah, batteries included, pretty obvious here. Then we do have agility at 15. We do have Action Boy, further doubling down on our AP refresh together with Lone Wanderer and 2 powered pieces. We do refresh our AP really fast. Evasive, just to give us yet a little bit more tankiness. Now, we don't have access to mods really on this armor set, so as you can see here, now with everything going, our Vanguard's effect and evasive, plus the standard armor, we are pretty well into the diminishing returns part of our damage resistance and energy resistance. So that's a comfortable spot where we are relatively tanky. But yeah, without evasive, we would be somewhere around 300 for each of them, which would already mean we would take way more damage. And factor in, we do have vanguards here, so losing the first bits of our health, we would rapidly go down with our resistances. So yeah, evasive, for some people it's a lost cause here, but I personally like it. Then we do have rank 1 of Gun Fu, so what I said earlier was a little bit of a mistake. I thought we had a higher rank just from remembering it, and yeah, when I was killing the Deathclaw. So yeah, we did get a 10% damage boost, but it's obviously meant to just switch between targets. The damage boost is just a nice little additional boost. Then we do have White Knight, straightforward. We are always in danger, always getting shot at, and repairing armor is tedious. So yeah, I have White Knight here. Some people prefer to not use it and just swap it in when they repair their weapons, but I really like to yeah, also use it as a active boost to not lose so much condition on my armor. Pretty straightforward. And lastly, we do have Adrenaline. I just mentioned I don't want to use Adrenaline and Tenderize on every single build just because they're good, but I'm not gonna miss out on both of them on one build, so sorry. I know it can get a little bit boring, but I really try to switch up things a lot in terms of equipment and perks and everything, but these two are just so beneficial. And on this occasion, actually, yeah, I just wanted to have max agility, and there's not a ton that we could have used otherwise. So yeah, there's them adrenaline, really beneficial, especially if you're killing ghouls, for example. You're not going to initially one-shot every single one with a torso shot, for example, but factoring in a little bit of a damage buff from Gun Fu and from adrenaline means that you're starting off maybe shooting an enemy twice in the torso to kill him, or trying to get a headshot in, but once you killed 1 or 2 or maybe 3 ghouls, you can definitely go and switch to targeting the torso rather than the head, and start to one-shot them still. And if you do that, every shot will sit. Like on headshots, you always have the slight little risk that you're missing a shot. Sorry. But once you're going for the torso, it will not happen. You will have a 95% chance. I mean, obviously it can happen that you miss, but you will very effectively take down a ton of targets. So that's it. And adrenaline obviously helps with that. And that leaves us with luck. We do have Bloody Mass, Grim Reaper Sprint, Better Criticals, Class Streak, Starch Genes, and Critical Savvy. So initially I thought I wanted to use, instead of Bloody Mass, I wanted to use Four Leaf Clover and Psychopath and so on, so just to really get a ton of crits here. But I quickly noticed that the build is very powerful, and crits, while they are obviously great, especially when it comes to something like a Scorch Beast or a Sheep Squatch or so, for the most part are necessary and are overkill. So I rather wanted to boost my overall effectiveness here a little bit, and the only thing I did for getting more vats crits was using Critical Savvy. We do get a crit on every 3rd shot, and the simple thing is the investment necessary in order to often get a crit faster would just be a lot here and didn't offer too much of a benefit. So I went with rank 1 of Class Streak. Grim Reaper Sprint would obviously have been there either way, and lastly Bloody Mess. So here you can definitely do like you want, but yeah, for me, Critical Savvy for a crit on every 3rd shot, better criticals, doubling down on our Eagle Eyes mutation, on our legendary effect, better VATS crits, and everything. Yeah, you can deal a ton of damage with a crit here. Grim Reaper Sprint just to keep us in VATS more. Now, with this setup here and this fast AP refresh, it arguably isn't really necessary, but what you definitely don't want to have is being frustrated because you would have a actually very good gun food chain or so in a big group of enemies, and then having to leave it and break it up to recover AP. So yeah, Grim Reaper Sprint, I use it on like 95% of my VATS builds. It's just one of the best perks for VATS in my opinion. Bloody Mass, similar to Demo Expert, not the craziest perk here, but let's just check that. So we do 321 damage, and with it we do our 347. So yeah, pretty similar damage boost you get from Bloody Mess than you get from Demo Expert, and that's basically why Demo Expert isn't too efficient, because yeah, you need 2 more perk points in order to get very similar results to Bloody Mess. I think Bloody Mess even did a little bit more here, but yeah, you get the point. I just wanted to double down on what the weapon is good at, being like high damage. So arguably, yet again, not really necessary. Maybe you would have gotten more benefits out of something like Four Leaf Clover here to get just never so slight chance to get more crits. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Basically, nothing will do too much of a difference here. And that leaves us with legendary perks, which are quite simple here because all except What Rats at rank 1 for convenience are just there to boost my perk points. The only one that's boosting my, not giving us access to more perks here, but rather pushing us beyond 15 base stats are agility and luck here, just to get more from the passive benefits from these 2 perks. From these 2 stats, meaning more action points and faster VATS crits. So yeah, without the legendary luck here, we would be at, I think, yeah, 13 or so luck. So yeah, that wouldn't be enough in order to get a crit on every 3rd shot with Critical Savvy. But other than that, yeah, it's just extra perk points basically. So not a lot to say here. And yeah, that was it. I hope you enjoyed the build, guys. Just had to bring that out quickly despite being weekend, just because I realized that, yeah, I haven't released the build this week, which was terrible. I mean, you guys are waiting for your fix, right? And yeah, anyways, hope you enjoyed it, guys, and see you next time. Bye.